guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to learn characteristics of microorganisms, which is the first section in microbiology of our GATE Food Technology syllabus. So let's start. Firstly, let's start with what are microorganisms. So what are they? An organism that can be seen only through a microscope, which means they are not visible to naked eyes. Study of these microorganisms is called as microbiology. So here we are going to discuss characteristics, or we can say morphology, of microorganisms, which include its size, shape, arrangement, classification and cell structure. To understand this, first understand what are prokaryotes and eukaryotes. These are two types of living organisms. Prokaryotes are those which don't have any membrane-bound nucleus or organelles, while eukaryotes have. This is a major difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Now, let's start. Firstly, we will understand about bacteria. Here we are going to understand the shape, size, arrangement and cell structure of bacteria. So, here as you can see that these are the different shapes of bacteria. First one is bacillus. So bacillus is like this. It is a rectangular, you can say rod shaped structure, while coccus are spear shaped, while vibrio is like comma shape. It is fully this comma shape, while spirula are curved. This is less than the vibrio shape. This one is fully curved and this one is semi-curved. Okay. If we will join two bacillus, then it will form this streptobacillus. While if we will join two coccus structure, then it will form diplococcus. Similarly, if four, then tetracoccus. If they are linearly in a line, then it will be referred as streptococcus, and if they are like monotomous, then staphylococcus. Similarly with spirals, spirula, if there is single spirula, then it is called as spirulum, while if they are in a linear chain more than 2, 3 or 4, then it is referred as spirula. So let's discuss the structure of bacteria. We will study about cell envelope. What is cell envelope? So cell envelope is the outer layer which consists of two components. First is cell wall, another is cell membrane. Cell envelope contains cytoplasm, ribosomes, genetic material, vacuoles and granules. We will discuss about them in detail with the help of a diagram. I'll show you. So let's move on to the diagram. This is the general structure of a bacteria. Here as you can see, these are pili, plasma membrane. Now let's discuss about the function of each one of them. Firstly, slime layer, or you can say this is capsule, and the outer one is called a slime layer. This one is slime layer. So these are the outermost layers of bacterial cells, which are made up of loose mesh of fibers, and this fiber is glycocalyx. These are highly impermeable and are often secretly these are often secreted by cell under harsh conditions like water uptake conditions. Now cell wall. Cell wall is inside the slime layer and capsule layer. This is rigid because it gives the shape to the cell. Cell wall is composed of the peptidoglycan, which is formed by alternate chains of NAG and NAM. NAG here is N-acetyl glucosamine and NAM is N-acetyl muranic acid. Because of this, the cell wall is able to give the rigid structure to the cell, and these chains are embedded with the polyalcohols. That's why they form teichoic acids, and when these teichoic acids combines with lipids, it forms lipoteichoic acid. So this is the whole principle behind the rigidity of the cell wall. Let's move on to other organelles. Here we have pili. Pili helps in conjugation, or you can say reproduction. It is a proteinaceous structure. And cytoplasm, this is cytoplasm. This yellow part is cytoplasm, which contains ribosomes, DNA, and it is composed of 70% water. These are ribosomes. These black circles are the lysosomes, which are the protein synthesis sites. These are 70S protein synthesis centers for the cell. This is the DNA structure, which is circular and haploid, as you can see. And then we have nucleotide. What is nucleotide? Nucleotide consists of single chromosome and genetic material. And then there are these inclusions, which are just aggregates of polymers, and these contains vacuoles also. These are called as storage reserves of cell. And then we have this blue color flagellum. Actually, it is not in blue color, it is just a diagram. So flagella is a complex cytoplasmic structure which helps the cell for locomotion. It is for the locomotion purpose. Let me show you something. If this is the cell and we are having a single flagellum, then it is called as monotrichous. It is an important thing, so remember. If we have two flagellum on both the terminals, then it is called as amphitrichous. If these are on the whole cell, terminal and center, including all the sides, then it is referred as peritrichous. And if they are only on the single side, like branch, like this, only on the single side, not all the sides, then it is called as lophotrichous. Got it? Now let's move on. So these bacteria are classified. We haven't understand about the bacterial classification. These bacteria are classified into two parts. First one is autotrophs, another is heterotrophs. This is according to the nutrition requirement. Okay, so autotrophs prepare their own food, while heterotrophs requires organic compounds like carbon from CO2 and nitrogen from NH3, nitrites, or you can say nitrates. Now, according to the oxygen requirement, this is according to the nutrition requirement, then we will understand according to the oxygen requirement. These are of 5 types. First one is aerobic, which requires oxygen for the growth. Another is anaerobic bacteria, which doesn't require oxygen. While third one is obligate aerobes. Obligate aerobes can only survive if there is presence of oxygen, while obligate anaerobes only in absence of O2. The last one is facultative. Facultative anaerobes, these can survive in both O2, both in the presence of oxygen or in the absence of oxygen. They don't have any strict requirements. Another classification of bacteria is on basis of temperature requirements. According to temperature, these are 4. First is thermophiles, which needs 60 to 80 degree Celsius temperature. Okay. Then we have mesophiles, 20 to 40 degrees Celsius temperature. These can survive in 20 to 40 degrees Celsius range. Another is psychrophiles, which can survive below 20 degrees Celsius, while the last one is called as psychrotrophs. which can grow at 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. It is very easy to remember as these are in the chronological order. Now let's go to our another topic, which is yeast. Let me show you the slide. Yeast. So what is yeast? Yeast is a unicellular structure. So to understand what a unicellular structure, let me tell you. Unicellular cells are made up, these are only made up of one cell that carries out all the functions, while multicellular organisms use many different. So understood the difference between unicellular and multicellular? So what are yeast? Yeast are unicellular, these are eukaryotic, and these are of the kingdom fungi species. Their size varies from 3 to 4 micrometer. Okay, and they can grow up to 40 micrometer. Basically these are among the size 3 to 4 micrometer. The shapes are ovoid, spheroid. Okay, ovoid or spheroid. Ovoid is like oval shape and spheroid is spear shape. These lacks locomotion organs, as we have seen in bacteria that it have flagellum which helps in locomotion. These cannot. Then these appears like moist, slimy, creamy, or like film scum, either like scum or whitish. Then we have cell structure of yeast. The cell wall of yeast is also composed of polysaccharide cells. These are chemotrophs. These are also called as chemotrophs. What is chemotrophs? Chemotrophs are the energy source, and they can survive in the range of temperature -2 to 45 degrees Celsius. Let me show you the figure. As you can see here, that cell organelles include endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, nucleus, and ribosomes. Here are ribosomes, small dots. A single large vacuole is located in the yeast cell, which makes it different from others. As you know, vacuole is the storage reserves of the cell. As we have discussed about these parts in the previous bacteria section, so I will not discuss it here. We are all, because the cell wall will give rigidity, vacuole will store, ribosomes will what? Ribosomes are the protein synthesis site. Nucleotide, you know, these are oh yeah, one more point. Sometimes they may also have an additional DNA, extracircular additional DNA here. Okay. Next, according to cell division, according to the cell division, they are asexual and sexual. With asexual, yeast can divide through budding. What is budding? This background, you can see that this is budding. There is a parent cell and another cell. The DNA multiplies and it forms another bud, and then it grows as a parent bud. This is the process of budding. Then there's another thing which is sexual division. This is sexual division in which there are two important points, that true yeast and false yeast. What are true yeast? True yeast are those which produces ascospores. Ascospores are only produced during sexual division. If it doesn't produces ascospores, then they are referred as false yeast. Okay. They can also be classified on the basis of color, growth, and ascospores. The main point here is ascospores, so remember it. What are true yeast? True yeast produces ascospores and false yeast doesn't produces ascospores. Okay. Next, molds. What are molds? Molds are the eukaryotic structures. These are eukaryotic structures which are often multicellular, and they are composed of the fruiting body above and little branches like structure which is called as mycelium. The whole body of mold is referred as thallus, which produces spores. So cell structure mainly combines of thallus and hyphae. The branches, so many hyphae combines to form mycelium. Next, let's discuss about the structure. This is the structure. As you can see here, actually these single branches are called as hyphae, while if they are in a group, then it is referred as mycelium. This is a fruiting body called thallus, while these produces spores. It is filamentous in nature, that's why these produces spores. Mainly the molds are composed of hyphae. Remember this, okay? So what is thallus? Thallus are the characteristics of thallophytes. In this diagram, as you can see, they lack roots, they don't have roots, they don't have stems or leaves. These are like a fruiting structure only, okay? And what are hyphae? These hyphae are very important because they absorb nutrients. They absorb nutrients from the environment or from the food, and then it transports it to the whole thallus structure, okay? According to classification, a hyphae can be divided or classified into two types. First one is aerial and submerged. Aerial are those hyphae which grows into the air or above the food, while submerged are hyphae growing within the food, okay? While vegetative are involved in the nutrition of the mold, while fertile, these are involved, as you can see the word fertility, you can remember it like fertility, involved in the production of reproductive parts like reproduction, okay? And vegetative you can learn like nutrition, that these are involved in the nutrition of the mold. And for aerial like air, these are grow into the air or above the food. And submerged, you can be like submerged is something which is beneath, so you can learn like hyphae growing within the food, okay? Next, we are going to learn about actinomycetes. What are these? These are unicellular and non-capsulated. That means they don't have any capsule layer or protection layer, okay? So these are also unicellular in nature, okay? And yeah, it is a type of gram-positive bacteria also, which belongs to order Actinomycetes, okay? These are anaerobic in nature, which means they doesn't require oxygen, okay? And these are of course unicellular, so they works like bacteria. These are the part of gram-positive bacteria, so their shape and size is almost like bacteria, but there's a difference that these are non-capsulated, okay? These are prokaryotic, and they also contains peptidoglycan, which is what? Which is polysaccharide, okay? Now, oh yeah, this is also non-sporing. Unicellular like bacteria but produces mycelium. Remember this. These are unicellular like bacteria but they produces mycelium, which is non-septate. So this is the difference. This is the difference why they are a little different than bacteria, okay? Next, we are going to discuss about spores. And one more thing about actinomycetes, that these normally reside in human gastrointestinal tract, and throat and mouth. Mostly they are present there. So they can survive in high pH, high temperature environment, as you can refer that they survives in gastrointestinal tract. So they definitely survive in high pH, high temperature, okay? Next one is spores. So what are spores? What do you understand of spores? Spores have size around 2 micrometer to 100 mm, okay? And shape is globose. Globose you can refer as globular structure, elliptical, curved, and sometimes lemon shaped also. Okay, their color is sometimes colorless and sometimes deeply pigmented. They are colorless or deeply pigmented. These are also haploid in nature, unicellular, and produced by meiosis. Let me show you the meiosis process. As you can see here, there's a so what is happening here? There's an individual sporophyte. Then the spores are formed by meiosis. Then after mitosis, a gametophyte is formed. Then two gametes form, or you can say a fusion process happens, and a zygote is formed, which after mitosis becomes an individual sporophyte, and the process continues. This process is also called as alteration of generations. So this is the process which happens with spores. Got it? Next we are going to discuss the types of spores. First is sexual, another is sexual. These are the two mostly, these happens the most. Another is also vegetative spores, or you have, or you can say megaspores and microspores. Okay, so what are spores? Spores are agents of asexual reproduction, because asexual reproduction takes place most of the time because of the variable temperature, pressure, and other environmental factors. So spores are agents of asexual reproduction. And what are gametes? Gametes are agents of sexual reproduction. Okay, there's a difference. That's the main difference between asexual and sexual here to learn. Asexual spores and sexual gametes. Okay, and two gametes are forming a zygote. Learn these important points. Okay, next we are going to learn about vegetative cells. Let's discuss morphology of vegetative cells. So what is the shape here? As you can see, spherical to ovoid. This is the spherical structure to ovoid structure. Okay, their size is around 2 to 30 micrometer in diameter. Okay, these does not participate in the sexual reproduction, which means they do not participate in the production of gametes. Any of the cells of a plant or animal, these are present in any of the cells. These can be plants or animals, except for the reproductive cells, because they cannot produce gametes. In the terms of microbiology, we can say normally growing cell that forms the endospores is called the vegetative cells. What does they form? Endospores. As you can see here, that they are forming endospores. If there are favorable conditions, now note this, that if there are favorable conditions, then spore can form a vegetative cell in only 90 minutes. But what's the problem? There are not always favorable conditions. Okay, so endospores can form within different areas of vegetative cells. Actually, if these are endospores, this is the vegetative cell. Okay, and these endospores can form anywhere on terminal or center or subterminal. Okay, through sporulation. Okay, now let's go to the last topic, which is gram-stain bacteria. Okay, so what do you understand by gram-stain bacteria? These are the stain or something, quite a confusion, like what we will understand from the word gram-stain bacteria. Let me tell you. Firstly, understand these are of two types. First is gram-positive, another is gram-negative. Okay, what is gram-positive? Gram-positive, it has a thick mesh shell made of peptidoglycan, and so are stained. Actually, not stained. We will discuss it later. It has thick mesh shell which is made up of peptidoglycan. And what is the percentage of peptidoglycan in gram-positive bacteria? 50 to 90%. Okay. And in gram-negative, it has thin layer which contains only 10% peptidoglycan. Okay. This is the difference between. Actually, these are the bacteria which contains peptidoglycan in different ratios. These are the classifications of bacteria only. And why these are called as gram-stain? Because we can differentiate them by staining method. Let me tell you the process of staining. The staining process is in 4 steps. Okay. So to this first step is we will apply. So what is the first step? First step is we will apply a stain. Which stain? Crystal violet stain. Okay, to a heat fixed smear of a bacterial culture. We will take a bacterial culture and we will stain it with crystal violet. Okay, then we will add grams iodine to this. Grams iodine is what? It is a trapping agent to trap this pigment, to trap the stain which we are providing, to trap crystal violet stain. Okay, then we will do the rapid decolorization so that we can see it under the microscope. Okay, rapid decolorization is done with or you can use alcohol or acetone. Okay, and then what will happen? We will counter stain it with safranin again. So what was first step? We will take a bacterial culture, then we will add what? Like these 2 drops we will add of the crystal violet. No, okay. Then grams iodine. Then we will decolorize it with alcohol or acetone, and then we will again strain it with safranin. So what basically happens here is gram staining primarily detects peptidoglycan. As I told you, the major difference between gram positive and negative is the ratio of peptidoglycan. So it detects the peptidoglycan which is present in thick layer in gram positive bacteria. That's why gram positive bacteria are stained purple by crystal violet and gram negative do not retain purple stain, so they turn pink by safranin. As we add safranin in 4th step. Got it? Let me show you the figure. As you can see here, the gram positive bacteria and gram negative bacteria. I hope it is clear to you all. If you have any doubts, you can ask me in the comment section.